Salam world, I'm your short and average girl from down under, and this is part 2 of our Vi discussion. In part 1, we spoke about how Vi's upbringing as the eldest child in an impoverished part of the city developed her hierarchical mentality, where strength and control were key to finding respect and moving up the hierarchical chain, and love is the anchor grounding that chain and making it necessary. However, she finds her views challenged when she meets an aristocratic cop from topside, finally feeling like there is a chance of equality in the world. However, that wasn't enough for Vi to change her goal just yet. She still had hope, so she was going to go back to Powder. She needed to get her away from Silco. And even though Vi came back to take Caitlyn to safety, she still tries to go back again and save Jinx, just to find out that she was too late again. When her sister gives her the opportunity once more, she tries again, but it didn't work because Vi's powder wasn't Jinx's powder, and Vi's enemy was Powder's new family. We're made to think that Jinx's decision here was the nail in the coffin for Vi's family, that she would finally choose to move on, having accepted that her sister is in fact gone. But it wasn't. Despite all that happened, Vi couldn't give up on Powder, because giving up on Powder also meant, in this situation, giving up on Kate and herself. Rewind. When Vi sees glimpses of Caitlyn's life topside, she realizes that she had been wrong about everything. It wasn't a them versus us situation, a collective wanting the downfall of another collective. It was individuals, personal fear, and personal gain. That drove the inequality. A single offer rippling into both sides, leading to ignorance and perpetuating fear. Every conscious mind making a decision to protect themselves and their loved ones led to one of these ripples. And though this is true to an extent, this outlook only justified Vi's hatred for Silco and her personal means of getting what she wants. To her, the solution was simple. No more offers. Stop the start of the ripple with the greatest impact, which, of course, to her was Silco, and the rest should be manageable at a smaller scale to her. All she had to do was bring Silco's empire down, and she could have her family back. But
you don't know war. It must be our last resort.
With the exception of Jace, the council wasn't going to be so quick to make their judgment about Silco, without any substantial proof. Now that they've realized the corruption within their ranks, it was going to take time for them to re-establish a new trusted team of enforcers and conduct investigations to prove Kate and Vi's claims. And whilst this occurs, Piltover is terrified of Jinx. 2 attacks in a few days. They needed to show a display of control to ease people's worries and let the Undercity calm down after Jace's mismanaged escalations. Vi couldn't wait any longer. And this may appear as a lack of patience, but we have to consider the fact that Vi was in Stillwater for 7 years. Imagine having your autonomy stripped away for 7 years. The uncertainty of when something may happen or may not happen. Not knowing if the people that you love are okay. Not having any meaningful things to do, and constantly looking over your shoulder due to the high violence environment. Your body is going to adapt to judgment, have heightened senses, and be constantly calculating and recalculating potential outcomes, leading to anxiety, combined with the depression of a lack of purpose. Yes, Vi had the memory of Powder and Vander's voice, keeping her sane in Stillwater, but she basically used them to regulate her symptoms, to build something meaningful in her head that she'd actualize if she ever got out. Which, if we really focus on Vi when she cracks from her tough guy act, we find that she didn't believe that Powder could have truly survived, and therefore she didn't really need to get out of Stillwater. It was all cope, till Caitlyn showed up. then everything did change. The denial that she was living wasn't denial anymore. She actually had a purpose, a family to fight for, a life outside Stillwater. It was exhilarating, and energy maintained by years of self-talk. So yeah, Caitlyn may have opened her eyes to a new way of viewing the Piltover Zorn conflict. It didn't change the tangibility of the divide, the harm of Zorn's black market economy on its people, the impact of drugs on behavior fueling the fear of Topside, the unsafe working conditions leading to radical innovations causing more fear to Topside, the underpaid labor that Piltover would not touch due to the classist mentality. Silco was trying to herald a peasant revolt, essentially. But instead of the Black Death making serfs more valuable to the nobles, thus being a point of leverage in the revolution, Silco was using the Machiavellian tactics of scaring the nobles as leverage, not caring about who was lost, because to him, the end justified the means. In contrast, the war actually acted like a peasant revolt, and Topside saw the merit of Zorn, leading to an integrated council, something that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for all the Zornites who played a key role on the show. Hate is a strong driver. Vi knew that. She didn't really oppose Silco's ends, but she despised the means. Those means took her father and brothers away. Those means put her in Stillwater. Those means turn Powder into Jinx. We know that if Silco had known that Vi was alive, he would have recruited her. And in an alternate timeline, Vi was Silco's Sevika. But those long years of nothingness in Stillwater, followed by a few days of high-intensity change, good and bad changes, that meant that Vi's body and mind couldn't cope if it just stopped. There would be nothing left. No Vander, no Powder, no fight worth fighting. And that scared her. And before people jump in and say, what about Kate?
Oil and water. Wasn't meant to be.
Despite having liked Kate, there was no fulfillment for Vi in a life with just Kate. Too much of herself would need to be sacrificed to start again topside. To Vi, that wasn't worth it. She wasn't going to give up on her mission either. If the spark of hope and change Caitlyn had given her were fake, well, it was back to the OG plan she had 7 long years to plan out. And in the council room, she saw a dynamic that she could exploit to her advantage. The relationship between Caitlyn and Jace. Given Jace's willingness to fight, unlike the other counselors. Plus, he was the one who had Hex Tech, the one thing Echo said could defeat Silco. She needed to get her Jarmon once more to leverage the situation. And boy did she land the jackpot with this stakeout. Not only was he in the process of building Hex Tech weapons because of frickin' Mal, and not only did he have an appetite for revenge, the skills to fight, and was sweet on Caitlyn like her, but in different ways, he was also the head of Piltover security on the council and can command enforcers. Girl just needed to wag her finger in one direction or the other and a legion of enforcers would descend on Silco's posse. You sure are. But gotta respect the hustle. And despite Jace bailing on her, she was going to continue on with the plan.
I'm gonna break your empire down all around you.
Something Vi doesn't get enough credit for is how well she understands the people of the Undercity. She had told Jace that all they needed to do was destroy Silco's shimmer supply and his people would turn on him and do the rest of the work for them. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happens. There's only one person Vi didn't understand that spoiled her plan. Another person who's altruistic. Not for love, but for a concept, an idea, a hope.
Rotten luck, boys.
So she needed to bring her down if she wanted Silco's empire to fall. Reminds me of someone else's plan. They ain't that different after all. Vi makes the brazen move to meet her at the last drop, the same place we first saw these two characters together, but united, and now divided. This wasn't just a round 2 to square off the scores. This was Vi avenging Vander, Vi fighting every demon inside of her that wanted to scream from the anguish of all the changes she'd witnessed in the past few days, from letting her sister down and being taken by a monster again. That's why this fight is so messy. It's not calculated, but emotional, so she loses until she remembers why she fights. Not for herself, but for the ones she loves. I love the symbolism of her dropping one of her gauntlets. Yes, it was broken, but it also reveals her bare hands, the way she used to protect her family, a vulnerable way of fighting which requires sacrifice. Not to add that she tells Jace that these gauntlets remind her of Vander's, and Vander's gauntlets fall when he decides to take Vi and Powder in. So because Powder still needs her, she too lets go of the gauntlet for Powder. And it's when Vi has something to defend that she wins. And even the gauntlets respond to her reinvigorated purpose and protect her. Now, why Jace and Victor added that feature to the gauntlets is your guess as good as mine. Maybe if there was a collapse, the force field would protect the miners. But it is tragic that this feature was removed by either the makers or Jace when he fixed the gauntlets in season 2, because this was one of their best features. Anyways, despite the win against Sevika, Vi had lost much more. And to her, it was all because of
Silco.
Now, if it weren't for Jinx, it would be safe to bet that Vi would have continued to do what she could to sabotage Silco in hopes her sister would be among those who turned their back on him. But the tea party proves one more thing about Vi. Her own feelings towards Silco blinded her to the true nature of Jinx and Silco's relationship. Now, I'm not going to go through the tea party scene again. For those who want to see the full tea party analysis, it's in my Jinx video. But Jinx, unbeknownst to her, does something that wouldn't have otherwise have happened. She brings Caitlyn and Vi back together, and on equal terms. Jinx has no conception of authority. People are people, and you treat them in the way that you need them to. If not, then treat them the way that they treat you. But for Vi, authority in class was a big deal. It's how people are categorized and structured, and it takes persistence and strength to gain influence and move up or down that hierarchy. Vi maintaining any relationship with Kate would demand a complete different set of skills to build enough influence in topside to be her equal. So Jinx did Vi a favor by traumatizing Kate so that the two of them could bond over it equally. And I ain't saying that what Jinx did was good. Like hell, Jinx's actions momentarily killed Vi's hope, scared her of her own sister, gave her the opportunity to start the grieving process that she could have started 7 years ago. But she wasn't alone. Kate was there. She also saw the blast, saw where it went, and lost a loved one that night. The two of them were grieving, completely differently, but both grieving nonetheless. For Vi, this event brought her closer to Kate. She understood the pain of losing a mother. Combine that with the guilt that she felt for not having been able to save Jinx from Silco's grasp, which eventually led to Cassandra's death. She felt a duty to stand by Kate's side. Make things right. Honestly, I don't even blame Vi for it. Not because she failed, but because the them versus us narrative was back in a really strong way topside. And those who knew that she was from the Undercity were treating her like a them. And the thing is, Vi also understood why topside was scared now. Why they considered Zorn as them. It shocked her to see the extent of the Undercity's evolution, and it scared her. Topside's lifestyle makes it so that they don't see death often. They don't have explosions, addiction, or theft. So these are big deals to them. And though this is horrible to say, and there are many people in the Undercity fighting against it, it is just too common there. And so the people have become accustomed to it. Even the kids don't fear these things anymore. What they do fear is not having food or water, a safe place to sleep, the ability to follow their dream, from a basic education to the ability to retain their childhood. It's the same problem as before. But whilst Vander promoted patience and slow progress, acceptance of class and inequality for a little less corruption and tyranny, Silco had fed the Undercity's tail for Piltover, used illegal and unethical means to make the Undercity formidable, which was exactly what she was seeing now, an unformidable Undercity. But it didn't solve any of the core issues across the river. She wanted to help everyone, but she didn't know how to, because this two-sided mentality has made it such that she needed to pick a side, fight for one or the other. She wanted no part in that. Just like before, she could get results by soloing this, but results for who? The Undercity? Kate? Herself? Unlike the season 1 Kate by Divide, Vi couldn't just turn to Jace and start her solo mission. One, because Jace himself was preoccupied, traumatized, and quitting politics, and most importantly, she doesn't have a plan of what to do. Silco's gone. Sevika's unarmed. The Empire will fall soon enough, and only God knows what will happen afterwards. As for Jinx, she was conflicted. Justice demanded that she needs consequences, but she couldn't trust the enforcers to bring that justice, because the enforcers ain't just. They're tyrants. She's seen that herself. Would it truly be justice for her sister if the enforcers had caught her? And the major difference to Vi was Kate's position on good and bad, where before she was defending the people of the Undercity, saying that they weren't bad, and that her experience with Vi and Echo was proof of that enforcers, like Marcus, were corrupt. Now, she was asking Vi to be the proof for Piltover by joining the enforcers. From Kate's perspective, the two opinions aren't contradictory, but to Vi,
You didn't think at all.
in classic Vi fashion, whenever she struggles emotionally, she pours a few drinks down her gullet. In the meantime, Kate's giving no mind to Vi's feelings and signed her up to join the enforcers anyway. No one talks about Caitlyn's toxic traits before you know what. But we will, in her own video, which will be the next Arcane analysis. But going back to Vi, the attack on the memorial changed things for her. The event proved that Silco wasn't the only head of operations in the Undercity. The Empire won't fall.
We can't make a deal with a snake and cut off its head.
This was a Hydra, which meant it's back on.
I have an idea.
And of course, she needed Hextech to fight the Shimmer Demons. And guess who's here for the assist? It's like episode 8 all over again. Yippee! But with all the loss Vi had suffered and was still grieving, she realized her heart couldn't take another loss, nor could Caitlyn's. At the same time, she fears that if she stays away from Caitlyn, the spiral of grief would take her to unholy places. She could help stop that, meaning that she needed to stay close to Kate for the Kate that she knows not to be lost. She will hold on to that past version of her and remind her of it. Vi's speciality, holding on to the past. Vi putting on the uniform was probably the most infuriating part of her story.
You absolute traitor!
But looking at it from Vi's point of view, it was a compromise for the best outcome. This elite force was the means of stopping a full-scale invasion, what Vi had asked for. It was a means for her to get her gauntlets back, which she needed for her plan to help the Undercity. She'd stay close to Kate and monitor her grief, and it was a way for her to execute fair judgment on Jinx, not leaving it to the enforcers. But it still felt wrong, like it had taken a piece of her away, and Kate could see that. The weight of guilt and blame weighed heavy on Vi. Her emotions were potent, raw, and could get in Kate's way. So she needed to create an emotional diversion to gain Vi's approval to do as she sees as justice to Jinx. And it frickin' works. No one can convince me that Kate was being genuine here, okay? She basically gives Vi all she wants just for her to be loyal. And what should I have expected? They're friends after all. To Jinx, Vi turning Bluebelly was unfathomable. She had accepted that they would part ways, that Kate was Vi's new family, but she never expected Vi to turn on her and the Undercity. Turn on the principles of doing your own work yourself, to forget the past. It wasn't like Vi, so she needed to show her that through a test. Another classic Jinx arena. As we stated in Jinx's video, this arena has two components, one for Vi and the other for Kate. But we'll be focusing on Kate's component for now, which means that we'll be excluding the location and all the jabs Jinx takes at the Caramans and her sister. But Vi completely misses all of these, which is like hilarious and so telling about Vi, because she misses all of these references. Jinx covers the pillars with important memories in their life, a memorial for their relationship and family, because the plan was for it all to end there. For Vi, this was painful. She loved and missed her sister, whilst despising Jinx. A part inside of her knew she couldn't finish off Jinx, so she gives Caitlyn her permission to take the weight and guilt off her shoulder. The fact that Vi basically ignores everything that Jinx says, going back to the same spiral of emotions in her head, indicates she's doing this for herself. This is still an extension of her season 1 episode 8 mentality, charged with further trauma and PTSD of
Mine would orphan kids.
and
Powder's gone.
she was trying to give Kate the chance to heal, hoping that Caitlyn could then help her. Jinx was the bane of both their current states, so it made sense to bring her down. The raw fight between Jinx and Vi is a play-by-play of Vi and Sevika in episode 9. Emotional. Messy. Jinx initially tests Vi, sees if she's really serious about this betrayal, or if this was just all for Kate.
I know you're sweet on her.
Which is why she's shocked by Vi's intensity straight out of the gate. All those chummy words, her treating her like a child, gone. Exchanged for...
Because you're a Jinx!
And that made her angry. As for Vi, her sister's using full-on guns against her. Of course she needed to incapacitate her for her own safety. Plus, all these weapons were connected to Jinx. So to her, they are disgraceful and angering. Yet when Jinx gets thrown against the wall by a hex tech glitch, who goes to catch her? Vi. Jinx perceives this as an attack, and the fight gets catty. Jinx infuriated by the perceived betrayal again, and Vi desperate to keep her sister at bay. You can see the pain in Vi's eye as she fights, the anguish in her screams. Both Jinx and Vi pour their emotions out in this fight. Bottled up for 7 years. Nothing good could come out of the state that these two had built themselves up into. Jinx taking revenge for years of up and down treatment from Vi, which made her desperate for her approval, and Vi was disciplining her sister for turning into a monster. All that was left was a broken family, and broken hearts. You can tell that what initially started off as a deadly fight turned into sibling squabble, which, though less dangerous, was more painful. But when given the shot to end it, Vi hesitates. Even Jinx is egging her on, but that confuses her. She didn't understand why her sister was giving up. What did she mean by,
I'm glad it's you. Had to be you.
but she wasn't going to let her get into her head until... No! Not only was she in a dangerous position again, she felt like she had misjudged the whole situation. Seeing someone care enough about her sister to point a gun at her, well, that reminded her of something. But then, after being disarmed, she still protected her sister. Her sister. The one who needs protecting. And now, someone was protecting Powder from her. For the first time since the explosion, Vi saw Powder again. The fear of abandonment and loss. Contrasting Isha's hesitation with Kate's unwavering shot, Isha contemplating the balance and impact of this life and death situation with Kate's resolve to finish Jinx without considering the consequences. A Zornian child in this position that no child should ever be in versus a grieving woman seeking personal revenge. Jinx's arena had done its job. It had shown Vi the hypocrisy of her decision. There had to be another way. But Kate wasn't gonna have it, and Sevika knew it. Vi had to do what she believed was right. Save Kate from the grief monster by stopping her. An act Jinx will never forget. Unfortunately for Vi, Kate didn't see it that way. Even after saving her life, she was fuming and comparing her to Jinx. A cardinal sin. So, Caitlyn gives Vi a gut punch, foreshadowing Vi's inability to fight and need for rescuing. Vi believes she's officially lost everything she had. Her old family, her new family, her friends, her enemies, her cause, her fight, and the one who became more. So she falls deeper down the depression spiral than she has ever fallen before. And now we get to talk about a new character on the show, Loris. Poor Loris gets so much hate, like many of these Season 2 exclusive characters. What people forget about these Season 2 characters, excluding LeBlanc, is that they were added to enhance the story of the main cast, not to be focused on themselves. Like Isha and Maddie, their individual characteristics outside their interactions with the main cast are scarce and not really focused on. But these breadcrumbs are there for us to piece their role and impact on our Undercity trio. These three characters add valuable context, show us a different side to our three girls, which is ultimately the reason for these three side characters' downfall and deaths at the end. But unlike Isha and Maddie, who seem to somewhat develop through the season, Loris doesn't. And many people have pointed out that he's a wasted or unnecessary character. I'm of the few that view his lack of presence as a way to highlight an important fact about Vi. He can't let go. Vi never develops anything beyond a superficial relationship with Loris, which can be seen by the way that she treats him versus others on the show. A superficial relationship for Vi is that of a tit for tat. I help you if you help me. But his qualities, from his appearance, deep voice, pure defensive nature, fighting capabilities, which I mean, excels the average enforcer, something widely recognized by the other characters on the show, only act as a reminder to Vi of the big, deep-voiced fighting teacher and protector that she had, Vander. And the writers somewhat double down on this by making Loris leave Vi whenever Jinx and Vander come back into her life. Vi convinces Kate to let go of Steb, Maddie, and Loris when they go to confront Jinx. Loris ditches Vi at the moment Jinx comes back into Vi's life. Then, when she wakes up up after the commune incident, it's Loris keeping an eye on her, whilst Jinx is locked up. And finally, Loris is killed before either Jinx or Vander show up to the wall. Loris possesses the same challenge to Vi as Kate had done in season 1. He's a Pilty that seemed to understand and share her struggles. He doesn't believe in the them versus us narrative, as seen by him not wanting to go to the memorial and abandoning the Pilty Avengers when things escalate, opting instead to encourage Vi's pit fighting and wallowing in their sorrows, until Vi loses herself. So how does this connect to Caitlyn? When Vi felt that level of equality and understanding, brought about by the echoes of those she loved, she opened up, only to be betrayed. Perhaps she feared the same here, and so we see this staleness in their relationship, which ends in a blandly tragic manner. Not even a tear shed for the man. Now, in the show, we didn't really get to understand Loris's intentions and why he connected with Vi. Perhaps he saw something in his Enforcer days which made him a drunk and allowed him to hate authoritarianism. But what we do know is that his desire to protect the weak and the innocent is a consistent thread in the story. The only personality trait which we could truly ascribe to him and not Vi's perception of him. Vi only uses him as a placeholder whilst she's getting her life back together. She didn't want to listen to Loris because he was too similar to Vander in demeanor and advice. And just like before, Vi can't stand replacements, rewriting the old, nor a space in her hurting heart for the new. But lucky for Vi, here comes our
Big fat hero.
Jinx hadn't forgotten Vi's favor, and once she'd learned that Vander was still alive, she realizes that that was another thing that she could fix.
Left of my family.
But Vi, alone in the prison that she had built for herself, surviving off feudal fights, booze, and ruminating anger, couldn't in her right conscious mind just let Jinx waltz into her life again, especially the way that she waltzed in.
Looking good, Tess.
Girl's got no chill. Meet Prison Vi Jinx, a version of your sister you've never met before. And boy was she unprepared for Vi's heightened senses and skepticism. Vi could have very well lost it and killed Jinx for mentioning Vander. But the shimmer-infused tear dropping down Jinx's face was the same as the shimmer-infused Vander.
Take care of Powder.
And crying Powder. How could she kill her? Now, Vi doesn't believe Jinx, but given that she'd come for help, with proof, what more could she lose? But just to be on the safe side, she's gonna bring her gauntlets with her. Now, the Jinx-Vander parallels don't end here for Vi, because to the people of the Undercity, Jinx is Vander's prodigy now, the glue holding Zorn together, which in a sense, disgusted by, because she knew the intentions behind how the two of them operate, and to her, equating the two felt like selling Vander short in her eyes. The journey into the mines that the three sisters take has as much symbolism as Jace's journey in the future, perhaps even more. This is the location where their family, all aspects of it, first met. Felicia and Connell, Vander and Silco, and now they were here to reconcile and make their four-membered family, which to Vi had a single member of each iteration of her families through the ages. Then there's the
Blisters and Bedrock.
Not only is this phase a dedication to the adult's hard work in creating Zorn in all its different phases, but also in raising Vi and Jinx. The location itself personifies the phrase, with the stone being the bedrock and the light up fungus the blisters, with the fungus only lighting up if you make sound, meaning that you have to put in the work to see the light. Just like her parents, all four of them, put in the work into her light and her sister's light and the light of the Undercity. And then, if you recall to the Treacle Well, in Alice in Wonderland's Mad Hatter Tea Party, three sisters reside there. in a place for healing. And these three sisters, unbeknownst to all of them, were healing here. Perhaps it's also why Vander came here, to heal internally. Further than that, this is also the place where Jinx and Vi really air out their grievances for the first time. With Jinx confronting her about the betrayal that she felt for joining the Enforcers, the violence she's betraying, and for sitting it out when all of Zorn is revolting against Topside. Without, mind you, bringing up who's doing all that. Respect, Jinx. Respect. Vi, on the other hand, confronts Jinx about her behavior and that she, if she wanted to do the right thing, should turn herself in and it would end this mess. And before things get too catty, Isha serves as a reminder of what they had been to one another. Sisters. Her presence softens the animosity, acts as a guide and light for the two sisters to come together to do what Vander and Silco never did.
Greatest thing we can do in life is find the power to forgive.
Now we know that Jinx was well on her way in her healing journey at this point. Vi, well, her hate for Silco stopped her from fully being able to do that, opting to hold her gauntlets rather than to be vulnerable with Jinx. Yet, she was still healing. How? Well, she was seeing that not all of her work was in vain. This Jinx had parts of powder in her, just more powerful, strong-headed, and less desperate. Things she could have never seen without this child being there. So, for that, it was perhaps something worth protecting. And when she perceives danger, that's exactly what she does. Gosh, this fight was so tragic to watch because both Vi and Vander were in their beast mode, and the only thing that could snap both of them out of it was powder. And just as a side thing, Singed made Warwick by using a two-headed wolf, and there's a two-headed dog on Vi's jacket, symbolizing that both of them had their animal skins on, if you like. Fitting for the Hound of the Underground and his prodigy. And it's in this situation that Vi chooses to put her fists down, be vulnerable, in the hopes that Jinx is right. And she sees it, finally shouting for him, which was his trigger for Violet, her voice. Afraid of the disaster she may have caused, Jinx struggles to light a lighter because she feared what she would see. The song that plays in this scene is a dialogue between Vi and Jinx. Vi asks Jinx why she's so nervous, what thoughts she's having, and why she has all this hate in her heart when she is the one carrying all the grief. To which Jinx replies with a plea. She can't believe her eyes because she was the one who destroyed her family. So, finally coming together and bonding over. What a reunion. And now Vi had everything she'd wanted again. A family to love, to help, and protect. Not a lone burden, but a shared responsibility with her sister. Everything was coming together for Vi, and it was just going to get better. Her second goal of making the Undercity habitable and safe, there was a place where that was happening. Vi's hope was off the charts. Her father could be human again. She has her sister back and a new adopted sibling. The safe haven of the Undercity was in a place where her childhood home was. A new path was opening up in Vi's future, and she wanted to share it with her sister. She was fulfilled here with Vander, Jinx, Isha, and serving the commune. An emotional climax for Vi. But then... kill me. Please kill me. Tragedy always follows Vi. And then, just to make things all nice and sparkly, she gets gut punched once more by frickin' Kittler. At this point, she's over her. But this one, buckled at the sight of Vi. Caitlyn needs to get a grip. Too late. Vi saw that, and she was gonna take advantage of it. Street smarts. Now, it's true that Vi didn't harbor any hard feelings towards Kate, but she couldn't quite trust her given everything that she'd done in the few short months that they'd been broken up. She knew she could handle things from her side of the woods, but Kate's side, well, she called for backup. And Vi's trust in Jinx was well-founded. She rescued Kate, proving even to her greatest enemy that
Greatest thing we can do in life is find the power to forgive.
the plan was simple. Make sure Vander is safe. And for what it's worth, they succeeded? Like, how were they meant to know about Jace? It is so tragic. Vi and Jinx both tried, but as the fight unfolded, they lost everything again. Except each other again. Literally season 1 episode 3 all over again. The new power of the season destroys their chance of saving Vander until Bloody Singed gets involved. That's all they had to protect in very different ways. Jinx tried to fix her family, but she believed that she'd failed. She was a Jinx. So perhaps to protect Vi from herself, she could do what she'd said, turn herself in. So long as she knew Vi is okay, then she'll be okay. But Vi couldn't have it. Vi had gone out of her way to save her sister, whilst Jinx lost her powder. Jinx was her only family, and she needed her. That's why she couldn't let her go then. And she certainly wasn't going to let her go now. She had promised Jinx a
We?
and she wanted to deliver. That was her new hope, her new dream. If appealing to Kate wasn't going to work, she was going to get her sister out herself. Be there for one another. Rebuild the hope they saw in Zorn again. Using Jinx as a force for good. Vi believed, due to her previous days with Jinx, that she can be good. She is good.
She's changed.
Without realizing it again, Vi was rubbing salt into Jinx's wounds, telling her that her freedom is conditional on how her actions are perceived. And given that she always seemed to mess things up, be a Jinx, those conditions were impossible. Everywhere but Vi's dreams.
You're never gonna give up on me, are you?
The only way for Vi to be happy was if she wasn't close enough to hurt her. Not understanding why Jinx wouldn't agree to her encouragement and want to stay by her, combined with the fact that she's locked up once more, freaks Vi out. She feels like she has failed all over again. That powder was gone. Jinx tricked her, and she's left with nothing all over again. Caitlyn had been right.
No amount of good deeds can undo our crimes!
She chose to give Jinx another chance and chose wrong. Ugh, if only she knew how much her sister loved her, how she still believed that she was doing this for her. But that's Vi's problem. She never asks Jinx what she wants or offers her a choice. She makes a plan and states it, a path for her to follow.
You're stronger than you think. And one day, this city's gonna respect us. I need you to sit this one out, Powder. If they come for you, take this and run. Wherever you are, light it up, and I'll find you. Listen, we can work this out. Powder, it's okay. Powder, listen. We can just go. We'll leave and never come back.
Where would we go?
We use the Grey to clear the streets, to keep people safe.
We.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too.
What if we stayed, helped them out?
We?
If you come, help use all that explosive potential of yours for good, maybe we could rewrite your story.
And Jinx feels that she could either pick these and have Vi around, or not pick them and lose Vi. For once, Jinx picks the latter to protect her from herself. And whilst Vi is wallowing away, not sure of hers or Jinx's fate, Kate comes to her with news of her sister. Full circle. Now, as you guys know, I don't watch spicy scenes. So, post Caitlyn revealing the news that she had let Jinx go freely, I don't know what happens. I suspect that Vi would have been relieved and grateful for the news and would have reciprocated that gratitude in some way, with Kate then escalating because she's smitten for Vi. That's kind of how I suspect it played out, just given the fact that Vi's uncertain of what is appropriate and what is not due to the class differences between them. I find it really difficult to believe that she would go beyond the line that Caitlyn would have established, which was a kiss back in episode 3. So those are the vibes I get. I don't know what actually happens, and I don't want to know what actually happens. In all honesty, I expected Vi to go after Jinx, given that her failure with her sister previously was her drive to find her again, but she doesn't. And she instead stays out to help with the war. And for a while, this perplexed me, because Vi was never one to listen to others' wishes above her own. And if we say that Vi was hopeless again and in a low, then she wouldn't have been the way that she was before the war. Trust me, doesn't cure depression or give you purpose like that. Given that Vi has two major goals throughout the entire show, defending her family and protecting the vulnerable, the prospect of a war against Ambessa threatened both. So regardless of where Jinx is, if the war is lost, she'd lose Jinx, with a bonus of losing Kate as well. So, the best choice for her was again to put on the Enforcer uniform and fight for both.
Top side and bottom.
But even when she's in the middle of the war, her mind goes to Jinx, not Kate. Every strand of blue reminds her of her sister, her home, and the good she'd believed in. I'm sorry. Did you call? This is the advantage of not being the eldest. You attune to your eldest sibling, not just the adults in your life. So you tend to be better at understanding their needs and dreams. And what Vi needed was to believe that she had done right, protected her family, made her parents proud with the responsibility they left behind. Jinx could give Vi that by fighting by her side, using that potential to help, not as a condition for freedom, but a choice made freely for the motive of making her sister feel better about herself. To make sure Vi doesn't carelessly give up the fight, having run out of things to fight for, to take the burden off Vi's shoulders, and more importantly, to free her sister of the burden of the past, to allow her to know that she did right and she can move on. This surprises Vi. Never could she have conceived her sister doing all this, being surprised of her sister's courage, altruism, and determination a myriad of times during the fight with Warwick, just like her little role model. Again, Jinx's plan works. It gives Vi a boost, a goal, and a drive. But it also proved that till the very final moments, Vi didn't really fully understand her sister. And Jinx was okay with that. She didn't need Vi to know her as she had once desired. She had moved on. And so had Warwick. Not exactly willingly, but yeah. But Vi hadn't moved on yet. Despite her sister's pep talk, she would rather the physical pain than the pain of letting go. Like, we are at the last 7 minutes of the show, and Vi is still mourning the past because she believes she failed in saving the man that she needed to repay the most. We have to remember Vi was unconscious after the blast in episode 6, so she hadn't seen Warwick's dead body and mourned like she had for Vander. So this was Vi's first face-to-face mourning. She thinks he's dead, but... And just as Isha had seen Jinx give up, Jinx watches Vi give up, and she couldn't have her sister end her life like this without happiness. So, and in return, Vi holds on to her with the only arm she has, because unlike the first time, her arm's broken, not the gauntlets. Despite her fear in that moment of the futility of her desperate act, she couldn't let go. That was her sister and her father. Jinx could see that in Vi's eyes. She was going to do what she always did, sacrifice herself for those she loved. Jinx had been on the other side of that before, and a lot happened. Now she's gonna stop the cycle. She knew what she needed to do for Vi. Jinx's ultimate gratitude was to act reciprocally. Vi's love language. She deactivates the gauntlet to rid her hands of the burden she carried, literally and figuratively. My heart goes out to Vi in this moment. It's brutal. Even though Jinx is alive, that memory will never be erased from the poor girl's memory. And that is something Vi definitely struggles with as part of her upbringing. Being the eldest, growing up in poverty, on the streets, the hierarchical mentality. She believed that her actions determined her place in the world. So she did all that she can to plan everything she did and work accordingly. Whenever things didn't go to her plan, Vi blamed herself, thus holding on to everything in her history as something to learn from or motivate her. Living in the past is exhausting, but for those terrified of the unknown or loss, you feel like there is no other choice. The past is your only compass to the abruptly changing world. It takes a lot of courage to let that go. And in all honesty, stupid if you have nothing else to latch on to. But when you do, letting go of the guilt of the things that you have no control over and forgiving yourself of the things that were without translating that blame to someone or something else, it is how you can free yourself from the shackles of the past. But if you can't, sometimes it really does take another person to do it for you, intentionally or accidental. And it hurts. God, it hurts. But the pain does go away, and the lightness after that burden is lifted makes you grateful for that person for making that sacrifice, essentially. Part of that pain may want you to blame them, but once it fades, you realize how courageous they were for what they did. We see Vi losing that need for control in the epilogue, humming her mother's tune, drinking from her father's glass in the comforts of the Kiriman mansion. She hasn't let go of her mission to be there for the ones that she loves if they need her. And that's all I have to say about Vi. A tumultuous tale with its ups and downs of life. It really is the heart of Arcane. Through Vi, the two core themes of the show are explored: family and political corruption. As we stated, she's the character with the most screen time on the show, excluding AU Powder from Jinx's screen time. She has the most interactions with different characters. She travels to most of the different locations, and through her story you can tell the complexity of her character comes from the diversity of her interactions, her observations, perceptions, and experiences, with her down-to-earth nature making her easy to relate to on one level or another. So regardless of what your opinions on Vi's transition throughout the show, I hope this analysis allow you to forgive the things that Vi had done throughout the show, to be sensitive to her upbringing, and to see how incredible she is of a person with everything that she had to go through. So with that, be brave, be happy, and be kind, and we'll catch you all next time.